Hello and welcome to Texans Talk Money. I'm Kyla, your host and a peer financial coach at Texan Smart. Every episode, we will be joined by another peer financial coach from my office, where we will be navigating all the roads on how to handle your money as a college student. So sit back and get your wallets ready to be Texan Smart. Hello and welcome back to Texans Talk Money. I am your host, Kyla.
And I am your other host, Kaiton.
Welcome back and thank you for coming back. I feel like it's been so long since I've done an intro to this episode, or to these episodes.
I know you were either missing or I was doing the intro.
Yeah, but it's nice to be back. I feel like I'm back in a groove, but sadly I only have like this one and one more, maybe two more episodes left.
Don't talk about it. It makes me sad.
I'm a little sad about it too, but I'm here. I'm going to make the most of my time while I am here. So,
yes, ma'am.
Let's get rolling into this episode. So, what are we talking about today, Kaiton?
We are talking about envelope budgeting, which I know me and you are both very excited about.
Yes.
And we are joined with a PFC from our office, Miss Gracie.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you for joining us again, Gracie.
Of course.
So, I guess we can start. Have y'all ever done envelope budgeting? Is that something that y'all have ever done?
So, I've personally never done envelope budgeting, but it's definitely been something that I've wanted to try and have been meaning to try, just because I will admit, I'm a tad bit irresponsible when it comes to cash. So I feel like envelope budgeting would definitely be something that would help me.
Yeah, I know. We were talking about this in the office earlier about how sometimes whenever we have cash, it feels like we burn through it a little bit.
Exactly, yeah.
It's not real. And I mean, like, it is very much real, guys. It is very much real money. But in my head, sometimes it just doesn't feel real.
Like, it just, I know for me, like, cash, I don't know how to word it. Like, it doesn't feel as, I guess, important.
It's a different feeling than you get whenever you swipe your debit card or, like, your credit card or something like that.
Which I feel like in my head it should be the opposite. Like, my debit card should be fake money. Because, like, I just always think about, like, the Barbie cashier play sets and how that was, like, fake money. But when I would hand them, like, the Barbie coins, I'd be so stressed.
Yep.
So what happened from 6 years old to now that cash is just not a thing?
I don't know, but I think if we try this envelope budgeting, it might actually help us feel that more importance with the cash.
Definitely.
I agree.
So I guess let's get into what it actually is. So this is whenever you're splitting up your cash and into categories for budgeting. And that's probably a really horrible way to explain it. But so think about your budget and think about all the different categories you have for your budget. Maybe you have gas for your car. Maybe you have groceries, eating out, fun money. And you're trying to stick and have like a harder budget for yourself. Envelope budgeting can help a lot with that because with envelope budgeting, you're only spending it with cash. And you're separating out your monthly budget or your weekly budget into these envelopes for cash and making a strict movement that if the money runs out of that envelope, you're done spending money for that category. Yes. I mean, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but I think if you're going to do that, having buffer money for your budget might also be helpful.
Definitely.
We always preach to have a buffer because life happens.
Yes. But I think it's also called cash stuffing too, but yes. I think that might be a little bit of a different type of envelope budgeting than like your standard envelope budgeting maybe?
I actually have no idea on that, but
I think
it would make sense that it would be another thing because I feel like when I did some research on this episode, it came up, cash stuffing came up as like its own thing as well as a type of envelope budgeting, if that makes sense.
What did you find for cash stuffing?
It was like a little diagram and it was just people literally stuffing it into separate wallets.
Oh,
and
interesting.
being like, instead of having it in their bank account, they put it into their wallet and basically, like how we only use the cash from our envelopes for envelope budgeting, they only use the cash out of their wallet for their wants or whatever it was.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Well, in my head, I was thinking of it as like we had this conversation before, but this other type of like the numbered budgeting, the numbered envelope budgeting, which is what Kaiton, whenever we had originally had this conversation.
Oh my goodness.
It was probably a 20-minute conversation while we were planning this episode about envelope budgeting, and we were talking about two very separate ideas.
But we were both so excited, y'all, we were pumped about we've been so excited to film this episode. I think this is such a fun little topic. But me and Kyla went on for 20 minutes talking about two separate things and completely thought we were talking about the same thing until like one of our very last sentences, and I was like, what do you mean, Kyla? And she just sat there and was like, Kaiton, no, what do you mean? So we had to explain it to each other for another like 20 minutes.
But we finally got to what we were talking about, which gives us even more information to share with y'all because, I mean, we weren't even thinking about the other thing that the other person was thinking about. That was a little confusing, but...
we both had two separate mindsets of what we were speaking about, which just gives us more topic.
Yeah, more stuff to talk about with y'all.
Yes.
But I know whenever I first came across envelope budgeting, I was scrolling through TikTok, and I was watching this mom. She had this binder full of those elementary like pocket folder things.
Yeah.
And she was stuffing cash into those. They were labeled with all the different things that she needed. And after that one, I started getting a whole lot more people, like more creators popped up on my feed with their like just different types of it. Like maybe you have your physical like paper envelopes in like a shoebox or something, or like plastic Ziploc bags, something like that. But while I was doing more research and diving into it, Dave Ramsey, well, not our Dave Ramsey, but like Dave Ramsey was one of the first people to come up with the concept for envelope budgeting, which is a great source to come from because Dave Ramsey is quite good at how he gives his money advice. And so he was always a good source to come from for money advice, I would think.
Yeah, so there's different ways, like Kyla said, to do it. The way I've always seen it done, and like the first way I saw it was definitely on TikTok, but it was actually a link to like TikTok Shop where they had actual physical binders that you buy. Then they had like such cute little decorations on them, and they were so fun, and they almost got me to buy one. I will be real, but I was like, I have all this stuff at home to make it myself. But they had set up like a little journal, like I think of a childhood like journal that just has a little button pop, and then it just had 1 through 100, and you put in that amount, the correlating amount of money that was on the front of the pocket, to have $100 in like a month or whatever it was.
I love that for like saving money, especially.
I feel like when you're doing that, you get to kind of see your progress.
Yes.
And keep track of it.
Whenever you looked at it, have you ever seen it like where people like randomly pick the number, or do you like just do it in order of like whatever number's in there?
I've seen both. So I've seen it where people do Ziploc baggies like you had mentioned, and they write their own numbers on there for whatever is feasible for them. And they pull out a random number, and whatever's in there is what they have to put in.
Yeah.
I know that's not always logical for sometimes, especially for college students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is what our whole goal of this podcast is to get y'all to have the skills to properly be financially literate.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know, like, especially for me, if I tried it, I would definitely have to be a person who I could probably pull a random envelope, but if I did, it would definitely be put back on some days because sometimes you just don't have $100 to put in there, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. That is absolutely fair.
Yes.
So what other things do you think people could use to, like, if they're wanting to start from scratch, maybe not buy, like, the booklets off of Amazon or something
100%.
like that? Like, what materials could people use to build up these, like, at-home envelope budgeting systems?
Like I mentioned, Ziploc baggies, envelopes if you happen to be a family who carries those around in your house. I know my mom has a little stack of envelopes because we write thank you cards all the time for different things. The plastic sheet covers that you buy for like classes. Sometimes you don't use all of those, and so I know I have a hoard of them sitting in my office desk at home from when I did a final portfolio for photography. So I have a bunch of them that I can write numbers on and use those for. But you can keep it as simple as a paper clip or a binder clip or anything like that, just to kind of keep it together, I guess is the word.
Yeah, make it more organized.
Yes, just some kind of organization for it is kind of the key point here, I feel like.
Doesn't have to be anything too fancy to get you started.
Yeah.
Maybe you just like set it on your desk and like sticky note it. I don't know.
100%.
Yep.
Something like that.
Write it on a piece of notebook paper. I feel like most college students should have a journal.
Let's hope most college students would have a journal.
If you have colored paper clips, but you don't have notebook paper, write it in your phone on your notes app. What color paper clip correlates to what category, things like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. But like, like we were saying earlier, I think I may have mentioned it, but like, or no, you did, Kaiton, I think, the pre-made ones on Amazon.
Yes.
Yep.
So how much would those cost you if you wanted to be a little fancier with it?
I know that they, of course, range in price. The cheapest one that I saw, I honestly think it was like $6.
Oh, dang.
Through TikTok Shop. I don't know what shipping was, of course. That could be where they get you. But $6 is not crazy. Even $10 isn't crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I know it can be a lot for a college student to just dish out $10 sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
But also, that seems like a more feasible amount to make back up than
It does. Yeah.
some of the other expensive ones.
Yeah. I'll agree to that. So, Gracie, what kind of... I mean, going into, like, the whole budgeting thing, sometimes you have bigger payments that you need to make. Like, if you're going into envelope budgeting, how many categories and what kind of categories should people start out with, do you think?
So, with envelope budgeting, I like to keep what goal I have in mind. So, am I wanting to save money to, just to save money and be prepared for the future? Or am I wanting to save for, like, a trip? Or am I wanting to save for, like, emergency funds?
Mm-hmm.
So that's always important to keep in mind. So if I'm just wanting to save money to be more prepared for the future, I would budget either on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. Personally, I like budgeting on a monthly basis. But category-wise, I would have a category for groceries, a category for food, category for gas, fun money, like just things like shopping, going to the movies, stuff like that. Yeah. I know for me, I would also have a category for my cat.
Yes.
For our pet owners out there, like pet supplies money or whatever.
Yeah.
So those are kind of the different categories that I would recommend. And honestly, just do what best fits your budget. Like, do you think you need $200 to get you through the month? Do you think you need $300 to get you through the month? Like, everybody's going to be different in that regard. You just need to figure out, like, how much on a monthly basis do you think you spend, and whatever that amount is how much you distribute through the different categories, if that makes sense.
That's kind of one of my favorite things about envelope budgeting is how personable it is for you.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's also a little eye-opening because, like you said, you have to think about how much money you need to get through the month.
Yep.
So
because everybody's different. Everybody has different needs and wants, and you just got to do what's best for you.
Yep. And yeah, don't consider other people's budgets whenever you go into making this. Like, you're on your own. Not you're on your own, but like you're a different person than your best friend is.
Yes.
You have like different life situations than your best friend does.
Exactly.
So just consider yourself, don't compare yourself, and just keep that in mind whenever you start putting this stuff together.
Yeah. And like
100%.
kind of going back, let's say like you're wanting to save for a trip. So I would do research on different hotels and restaurants and just different things to do in that area that you're wanting to go to. And depending on how expensive things are, I would plan on that. Like, do research onto how expensive hotels are, do research on like restaurant prices, and like just kind of plan on that and have a category for food/groceries. By the way, if you're going on a trip, I highly recommend getting groceries to make your own food. Just little FYI. So definitely a category for food or groceries, a category for a hotel, category for a rental car if you need one. Like, just everything that you're going to need to take account for when taking a trip.
Maybe really Uber, smart. If you're going to be an Uber person. Sometimes that Uber prices add up. I know
they do.
Because especially down like in Austin and places like that.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we've talked about a few goods and a few bads. Like, what would y'all's major, like, pros and cons that come to mind whenever you're putting together an envelope budget? There's a few different ones that I have in mind, just depending on the type of spender you are, the type of saver you are. Sometimes it would probably benefit me as somebody who likes to swipe her card more than she probably should.
Yeah.
And I would be limited to the amount, which is probably a pro for me. I would be absolutely set to that limit for how much I could spend for that thing. If I have to go put something back because I don't have it in my budget to do it, I'm going to go put it back, and it's going to save me money in the long run. I might not be like absolutely wild. I might want my my Snickers bar if I go buy groceries and I have to put it back. I might be a little upset, but you know what? It'll save me money in the long run.
Yeah. So I would say one pro or benefit to envelope budgeting is it's a way to keep yourself accountable. Like, it's a way to make sure you're not spending more than what you have, and it kind of just helps keep yourself accountable. I would say a con is, I would say it's not for everyone. It is a difficult thing to do, and it just depends on how disciplined of a person you are. Like, are you willing to stick with this budget and make it work, or are you kind of gonna give in to what you want and all that stuff?
I know that's definitely a con for me because I can be a little impulsive.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'll be like, I don't care that that's not in my envelope. Like, I have a credit card or a debit card, which don't use your credit card as, like, the backup because you do have to pay that money back. But sometimes I just, 100% honesty, don't have the discipline to take care of things in the way they should be taken care of when it comes to cash. However, like I mentioned, a giant pro that I see is even if you're not that disciplined, you can make sure that things you have to be disciplined in, you can personalize your envelope budgeting to that.
Yep.
Which I think that's so fun, and you can make it fancy if you want to make it fancy, if that's how you're going to be better, or if putting it in paper clips and shoving it in a shoebox is the better way to do it.
Just making sure you're organized and you're having a system that's right for you. I think personally, con for me as somebody, I feel like I think a lot like toward the future with my money, and something I would be a little disappointed about is since it's cash, you really don't get to have any interest on that money.
Yes.
I like having my money in like a good savings account that'll yield a bit of interest for me, like just make a little money while it's just sitting there doing nothing. But whenever it's at home in a cash form, it's sitting there doing nothing, and it's really doing nothing.
Yes. It is the epitome of doing nothing.
I think having this can also make you maybe develop better spending habits.
I was going to say, like, I feel like this is something that's definitely going to make you more aware of, like, what's going on with your money and, like, what you're spending it towards. I know with my dad and brother, they love having cash on them at all times.
Yep.
Because they can, the way that my brother words it to me is he can feel the money leaving his, like, his hands or his wallet, and it just puts more pressure on him to be more aware
So he's almost the opposite of the way we've described it.
Yes.
That's so interesting.
We girl math the cash, which we should not girl math the cash.
Girl math is how we get into trouble.
Yep.
Girl mathing. The money that I have in my wallet, I need to prioritize it more and think of it as important. Money is important, definitely.
Yeah. Yes.
I think we just need to get in the mindset that cash and debit cards are the same thing. That they are one and the same, just one of them is an electronic transaction and one of them's a physical cash transaction.
One of them is a plastic cash.
I know while we were in the office, another one of our PFCs was saying that she kind of feels the pressure of spending whenever she swipes her debit card and then she gets a notification saying how much she spent. And it's the same way with me. Whenever I use my debit card and I get that text saying how much I spent, I'm like, why?
Why did I do that?
Why did I
so
spend that
guilty.
much?
Honestly, something like that, keeping those text messages on if you are one to use your debit card, keeping those messages on will keep you accountable.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons. This is what I was going to mention earlier about another con, I guess, is sometimes you have more pressure with the debit card. So if you're a debit card person who feels the pressure with the debit card swiping, envelope budgeting may actually do nothing for you.
Yeah.
So it's definitely about finding the groove, about what makes you feel more accountable for your money in a sense, and not you're just throwing it away on nothing.
100%.
Because everybody, like we were saying, everybody's different. Everybody has different personalities, different financial situations, just different everything. And I know we keep saying this, but guys, it really is important to find what works best for you.
And if you need help finding what works best for you, we at Texan Smart, our certified peer financial coaches, are all here to help you figure out, talk through what is best for you. What is your situation? What is your relationship with money? Let us help you talk that through. We'll help guide you on a journey that will make you more financially sound, more financially literate. We're here to help.
Yep. Downstairs, Tarleton Student Center, room 12.
Please
feel free to come see us. We're all nice, I promise. Yes. All we want to do is to help you.
And if the PFC you signed up for really doesn't fit your vibe, that's okay. We have 7 others you can test out.
It won't hurt our feelings, I swear to you, if you switch up PFCs. If the first one you didn't fit your vibe, because that's why we have such a variety in our office, I feel like.
It's kind of like trying out, for people that go to therapy. You're Definitely. Trying out, the people that find your groove, that mesh well with you. We can do that with you, too. Let us help find somebody that meshes well with you.
Absolutely.
Because we truly do want to get to know our students.
Yes.
And help them in the best way possible.
We want the best for y'all.
Yes.
We want y'all to be financially literate the way we have the ability to be.
Yes.
Not that we always are.
Yes. We're all human. We all make mistakes.
We all make mistakes, but we want you to have those tools at your hand. So, never feel pressured or judged if you walk in and you're at a different financial point than you may have heard us talk about us being at on the podcast. Because, like we've said this entire time, so many of us have such different financial point. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is.
Just financial situations.
Yes, financial situations. So nobody's judging you.
Nope. And I think that was a really great way to wrap up the episode, y'all.
100%.
Yes, ma'am.
I guess we can do a little bit of an announcement. We have, since it is the ending near of the semester, we have one more, event coming up that's pretty big. I think whenever this episode's posted, it'll be the week of will be our FinLit week. So if you hear this during FinLit week, thank y'all for joining us and learning how to be more financially literate. And also on April 16th will be our final cash card of the semester, I believe.
Yes. Yep.
So come out, look for us on campus.
You can't miss us in the cash card.
No.
You can't.
And join us, try to win some cash. Maybe try to win some other things too.
100%.
But I think that's all for us here today.
That's all I have.
Alrighty.
Well, thank y'all.
Thank y'all. Thank you, Gracie, for joining us and taking time out of your day. And if that is all, be well, be ready, be Texan Smart. Y'all have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.